Most people live their entire lives explaining themselves, seeking permission, approval, or validation. From people who don't even understand them. You say yes when you mean no. You shrink your voice to avoid conflict. You shape your identity to match what others expect. And without realizing it, you become a version of yourself that was built by everyone but you. But what if you stopped? What if you no longer needed validation to feel whole? What if you could walk into a room and not worry about who's watching? That's not arrogance, that's not coldness, that's freedom. In this video, you'll learn how to break free from the opinions of others, reclaim your inner compass, and master the quiet power of not caring what they think. Welcome to Mind Below Zero. I'm Zero, your guide into the quiet spaces of the mind where real change unfolds. Let's begin. I remember the moment it hit me. I was 17, standing in a crowded hallway at school. Someone cracked a joke I didn't find funny, but I laughed. Not because I enjoyed it, but because everyone else did. That small laugh became a pattern. I wore clothes I didn't like, joined conversations that drained me, and agreed with opinions I didn't believe in. Why? Because being accepted felt safer than being real. It didn't stop in school. It followed me into adulthood, into relationships, work, even online. I realized I had become a master of blending in, but completely disconnected from myself. The moment I finally said no, to a party I didn't want to go to a project I didn't believe in, to a friend who constantly crossed my boundaries, was the moment I felt something I hadn't in years: peace. That's when I realized the fear of what others think is one of the most powerful cages we build for ourselves. And it's one we reinforce daily with every silent nod, fake smile, and unspoken truth. But here's the thing. Most people aren't thinking about you as much as you think. They're too busy worrying about themselves. So why do we hand them the remote control to our lives? When you learn to stop performing, you give yourself permission to exist as you are, not as a version sculpted by expectation. From a neurological perspective, the desire to fit in is not weakness, it's wiring. Our ancestors lived in tight-knit tribes. Being cast out could mean death, no food, no protection, no survival. So the brain evolved to associate social rejection with danger. Today, that same ancient mechanism still fires, even though being unliked doesn't threaten your survival. The pain of rejection activates the same brain regions as physical pain, specifically the anterior cingulate cortex. This is why criticism online or being excluded from a group chat can actually hurt. But here's the empowering part. That wiring can be rewired. Studies in neuroplasticity show that the brain changes based on what you repeatedly do and focus on. When you practice self-validation, acknowledging your own thoughts, values, and feelings, you weaken the brain's dependence on external approval. Even meditation and journaling have been shown to shrink the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for fear and emotional reactivity. This doesn't mean you become cold or detached. It means you shift from external control to internal alignment. You no longer ask thoughtful, will they approve of me? You ask, does this feel right to me? And that shift, that's where your power begins. You weren't born to fit into a mold. You were born to build your own. The need for approval is a habit, one that can be broken. And when you do, you'll find something far more valuable than applause. Peace. Peace in your decisions, peace in your direction, peace in your identity. You stop living reactively and start living deliberately. Not out of rebellion, but out of clarity. You'll begin to realize most of the people whose opinions once held you back were never really paying attention to you in the first place. This week, I want you to take one small action that you've been avoiding, not because it's hard, but because you feared how others might perceive you. It could be saying no to something you don't believe in, posting that idea you've been sitting on, wearing what you like instead of what's safe, speaking your truth in a conversation where you usually stay silent. Pick just one and do it. Then observe how little the world actually reacts, and more importantly, how free you feel afterward. Write it down, reflect, repeat. This is how confidence is built, not in grand moments, but in small rebellions against approval. If this message spoke to you, consider subscribing to Mind Below Zero, where we go deeper than motivation and train the mind in silence. I'll see you in the next one.